Hey guys, welcome to AMC Movie Talk. I'm Amy Rose, here for our special live streaming event of Guardians of the Galaxy Q&A. Here to kick things off, I have John Campea, and be sure to check out Guardians of the Galaxy in theaters August 1st. Here's John.
Woo! Hey! Thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming. This is a really exciting night for me. This is a film, Guardians of the Galaxy, that I have been looking forward to so much. And we've got three of just absolutely my favorite people in entertainment. And I'm going to run down just a couple of them for you. One of the guys who's going to be here and coming out here in just a second is one of the stars of the film, which is Chris Pratt. And I adore this guy. He's just fantastic. Everything's in. True story. When I first met Chris Pratt, it was on the, I guess it was the junket day for Take Me Home Tonight. Do you remember that? And it was in this house up in the hills where they did the junket. It wasn't in, you know, the Beverly Hills Hilton or anything. And as I was done for the day, I hadn't interviewed Chris. And I was done for the day, and I was walking out the front door of the house just as Chris Pratt was walking in, and he kind of bumped into me inadvertently. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, dude." I'm like, no problem. He goes, no, you should punch me in the face. So that was my first, my first exposure to Chris Pratt. James Gunn, the director of this film, is a guy who I hadn't really heard of much until I saw this little film called Slither, which is, without exaggeration, my all-time most underappreciated film ever made. It is my all-time favorite horror comedy. It is just a treasure of a film. If you haven't seen it, shame on you. Get out there and see it. And also, president of production for Marvel Studios is Kevin Feige. And I can tell you this, he is my new George Lucas. What this guy has been able to do and pull together is nothing short of remarkable, and now we're so excited to see what he's going to do for all of us with Guardians of the Galaxy. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Chris Pratt, James Gunn, and Kevin Feige.
All right.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. This is cool.
This is right here.
Right here? Wow.
Thank you guys so much for coming in today.
There's actual people here.
I
There's
know.
real people here.
Cool. How much are you guys getting paid to be here?
James was backstage like, "Wait a minute, there's a live audience?" I'm like,
Yeah.
no problem.
I'm terrified in front of a live audience, and so I soiled myself. But we don't have to last. We're only here for a very short amount of time.
True.
All right, let's get things started with this. James, there's a lot of, unlike, say, an Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy is a title and a property that for a lot of people they're very unfamiliar with. So if we were to ask you, tell us, what is Guardians of the Galaxy? How would you answer that?
Guardians of the Galaxy is a team of outer space criminals, basically, who get tossed together and find themselves in the presence of something that could be truly evil, and they decide to band together and sort of do away with their, sordid past and fight evil together, because they've never done that before. And I'd say it's like, if you really want to know what the flavor it is the Marvel flavor, but it also has a lot of old school space opera about it.
Kevin, I think there was a lot of people a long time ago when we're all waiting here, okay, what's going to be that next Marvel film before we get into Avengers 2? And I don't think any of us were expecting to hear Guardians of the Galaxy. And a lot of people were like, the what's of the what's? What was it about this title that, for you, made you think this is what we need next to progress in this Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, sort of all of us at the studio wanted to do something new, wanted to do something original, wanted to do something outside of the build-up to Avengers and just sort of that cinematic universe of Avengers, although this is in that universe. As you will see when you see the movie. But we were excited about doing something, frankly, that most people hadn't heard of. And today everybody knows Iron Man, but that wasn't necessarily the case. Iron Man certainly was more popular than Guardians in the comic fan world. But in the movie going, in your audience at AMC, I don't think a lot of people knew who Iron Man was. Maybe they saw him in a cartoon, maybe they saw him in a video game. So it was sort of the same thing. People were saying, well, he's not one of the three superheroes I've heard of, Iron Man. How are you going to make us care about him? In the same way, we were excited to bring Guardians to the screen and do something on the other side of our universe and bring these new heroes to life.
And it feels to me like there was I mean, with every film, there's an aspect of risk that you're taking when you're putting a film out. But with Guardians of the Galaxy, it felt like the first one that was really a roll of the dice. That you guys were really stepping out, going into a property that
I did a
nobody's
movie with a
familiar
Norse god that holds a hammer for the whole movie. It comes from another planet. We did 2 of them.
So you didn't feel really it was that big of a risk
I
going
think
into
they all
Guardians?
are. They all are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Chris, for you, you're playing Star-Lord. Which is like one of the greatest and cheesiest names of a comic book character of all time, which is just awesome. For you, this is like a 2-part question, but what made Star-Lord the right kind of character for you to play, but also what makes you the right performer to play this character?
I guess that's a 2-part question. I had an audition with James early on in the process, and he just said, because I couldn't find any, there were a lot of different incarnations of the character, and I couldn't find all that much about this character. Plus, the script was, like it is with all Marvel projects, was under lock and key. I couldn't read it before the audition, so I didn't really know what.
So you hadn't read the script before you did the audition?
No, I hadn't.
That's
no,
amazing.
I hadn't. And so I came in. I said, and we just started talking. I said, tell me about this guy. I mean, how much time? He said, do you have any questions? I was like, oh my God, I have nothing but questions. Please feel free to tell me as much as you can about the character. And he said, don't worry, there's a lot of incarnations of the character, but what we're looking for is someone to just kind of breathe their own spirit into it. No one really knew who Tony Stark was, but now when you think of Tony Stark, you think of what Downey did with the character, and he said it's kind of the same thing. Like, we just want somebody to inhabit this character. And that's, in a way, a big benefit, because I'm not going to be compared to anyone else who's ever played Peter Quill before. It's kind of, I got to go in there and do my version of it. And so I think that's what makes me right for this version of Star-Lord, is because it's me, and I know how to do me. That's about it.
Not only yourself, but this is one of the cast of this film is a lot like the characters themselves. This is one of the strangest, most eclectic. I would never think when I'd sit down and you look at this incredible cast you put together, but it seems so eclectic. What made this overall group of people, like Chris, and you got Dave Bautista in there, and you got like all these wonderful performers, what made this the right cast?
Well, I mean, I think that it is a completely original movie, and I do think that it is, at the core of it, a character piece. I mean, as much as it seems like it's a big action adventure, and it is that, it's a spectacle film, but it really is about the characters, and the film is driven by the characters and their relationships. And so I think finding actors that were specifically suited to each of those roles is what we needed to do, and finding actors who could exhibit a different part of themselves, where it was Chris, who we saw something in him that maybe he hadn't had a chance to do before, or Bradley, who people didn't see as casting a raccoon who was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, but that's why we needed to have him in this role, because Rocket is somebody we needed to make as real as possible. Michael Rooker is somebody who I've done a lot of movies with, and he plays Yondu. And I saw a side of Rooker in his real life where he's this laughy, crazy nut job that he's always playing just hard asses. And to be able to bring out this other aspect of him into this character was something that I wanted to do. So I think it was about taking this eclectic band of characters. And I would actually include Kevin and the Marvel guys and me, that we're all sort of this eclectic band of characters, and that's what the Guardians are. They're an eclectic band of characters that come together for a single purpose, and maybe never saw themselves being thrown together before that. And I think we, as a group, reflect the Guardians in that way quite a bit.
Now, Kevin, you and your team have done such a great job of getting incredibly talented filmmakers together to make each one of the individual films. And we were so excited when we saw you got James on this one as well. But you guys have a larger responsibility as well, to sit back and not just look at making great individual films, but kind of navigating this whole universe you've set up. Without giving too much away, no, give us everything that you can. How does Guardians of the Galaxy fit into this cinematic universe, and what importance does it play in, without giving away too much, what importance does it play for the ongoing cinematic universe as well?
Well, as we already said, it couldn't be more distant than in geography to the other films. 99% of this movie takes place on the other side of the galaxy. Yet, never mind the themes and the character interactions, which are very much rooted in the Marvel world. There are a handful of characters that you'll see in this movie that carry through to the broader threats that perhaps are facing our other characters here on Earth.
Chris, one of the coolest things, well, people saw the trailer, but people who follow you on social media also saw some pictures you put out like a year ago. The physical transformation you went through from some of the other roles that you play. Now, we're used to, when we think about character transformation, we think about Christian Bale or Matthew McConaughey, dropping down to 85 pounds and things like that. You kind of went in a different direction. I remember this picture you put out, you in your home gym, I think it was, working. You had just worked out and you're just ripped and buff. And it's like, where did this guy come from? Talk about that transformation. How hard was that for you to get in that type of shape that fast?
Well, I mean, it seemed fast, but it wasn't. It was about 7 months, and so that which actually is pretty fast considering I lost how much weight I lost. But I mean, it was hard. It was hard, but I grew up as a wrestler and did a lot of sports growing up, and for me, there's a certain mindlessness to it that I really like. Like if you don't have to think. And for me, that's great. So I do that.
We noticed that. I noticed that about you a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of your main things.
It's my best quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shut everything out, and no, it was it was a lot of work, and it was I literally worked my ass off, and but I also had like the help of like really great people that were nutritionists and trainers, and I got after it, and I got a little grumpy and a little hungry, but it works because the character he's like a guy from a comic book, and if you look at those guys,
I think people take it for granted. They see a photo, a before and after photo, and think, oh, movie stars somehow do it magically. It is so much discipline and work. The second or third day of production was Chris's birthday, and at a certain point between takes, the crew started singing. We said, oh, here comes the cake. It was a tray of vegetables spelling out "Happy Birthday," and I thought, this is discipline.
Which for him was
and then,
treat.
And I felt bad, by the way, for the first time. I was like, oh, what are we making him do?
Chris was doing a Q&A in our office a month ago for another film he was in, Delivery Man, though, and you were answering Twitter questions, which, by the way, just sitting there for an hour, listening to answer Twitter questions was one of the funniest hours I've ever seen. But as he's doing that, I think it was your assistant was keeping an eye on you, and every time your assistant turned around and went out, I saw you reaching over and grabbing the popcorn bag when they were gone, which was kind of fun. But listen, I looked at the pictures as the production were going on. You guys were on a lot of locations, a lot of different types of sets. This one great thing I think Dave Bautista put out where he was in like a tank and you were trying to get him out of the tank, saying, "Get out of the tank, you big jerk," or something like that.
Well, Dave said I was saying that to him.
Yeah. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
What was this experience like for you shooting this? Because it seemed like it was a lot of fun, like looking at all the stuff that we can see online.
The thing about me is I generally hate making movies.
Good.
I feel driven to make films, and I kind of like pre-production, and I kind of like post-production, but the actual shooting of them is pretty hellish for me. But I definitely enjoyed making this movie more than I enjoyed making other movies. And it is bigger, and people keep asking me, gosh, is it, do you feel overwhelmed with how big it is? And the truth is the difference is that it lasts for a lot longer. I mean, I got hired, well over a year ago, and the whole process lasts almost exactly 2 years from start to finish. And that's my life as Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's much longer. It takes more, adjustment and managing, your time in that way. But I surrounded myself with some of the best people in the entire industry, whether it was, the production designer Charlie Wood or visual effects supervisor or, all the different people around me are some of the best people in the world, not to mention the Marvel guys and Chris and Zoe and all these people. And so it actually made my job a lot easier in a lot of ways because when you do a lower budget film, or at least when I did, I felt like I did a lot of other people's jobs as well as direct. And so I felt like this freed me up a lot, and it was a pretty good experience because of that.
Now, when the announcement first came out about Guardians of the Galaxy, like a lot of people, I was familiar with it, but I had never read it. I went home, got my tablet, Comixology, downloaded everything there was. And I got to tell you, my favorite character, outside of the core, my favorite was Cosmo. And for those of you who don't read or know Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmo is a Russian dog who speaks telepathically. And he has these big psychic abilities, and he can he's very powerful too. Was there ever a thought of bringing like a Cosmo in, or was having a Rocket Raccoon in there just make it crowded for that area? What was your guys' thinking process on that?
Rocket was always going to be the focus, without a doubt. But fans of Cosmo will have to wait and see the movie.
I want to pursue this so bad, but okay. But I won't for now. Okay, listen, I've got a few more questions, but before I do, we opened it up to you guys on Twitter and on our AMC Theaters Facebook page to ask if you had any questions for our incredible panel here, and we did take a bunch of questions. Amy Rose has got a bunch of them pulled out over there. So Amy Rose, what do we got?
Did we mention we're taping this in front of a live studio audience?
First time ever. Thank you, guys.
All right, I personally love this first question. It's from Shara Whitaker. And the question is, what made them choose Hooked on a Feeling for the trailer? How did they even think of that song, which was amazing, by the way?
Yeah, because that was strange, but I was never able to get the song out of my head after you guys played. Yeah, how did you come up with that?
Well, there's a lot of things that people will find out when they see the movie, but the song is in the movie, and we know about the Sony Walkman, but it's, Quill has a Sony Walkman that's from Earth, and one of the songs he has on his mixtape is Hooked on a Feeling, and it was there from the very first draft of the script that I wrote. It's been in there, so it's a part of it, and there's a lot of other cool songs that are in the movie, and I find it's one of the things that sort of takes this sort of overwhelming, obtuse space opera and connects us to Earth and grounds us a little bit in some sort of reality.
It was weird the first time I heard it, but I think Amy Rose and I talked about this too. The first time he was like, why are they using that song? And then you realize 5 minutes later that you're not going to get the song or the trailer out of your head for the rest of the day, and you realize this was actually genius.
Yeah, I don't think we knew quite how, that the sales of the song went up.
Yeah, it was like #1 on iTunes.
It was huge. It was huge on iTunes, and it was, people are making a lot of, because there's the Ooga Chaka in the
posters
song.
came
There's
out.
lots of posters with Ooga Chaka, rocket shooting guns with Ooga Chaka. You got the ass tattoo, the Ooga Chaka ass tattoo, which is weird. Not.
All right, what else we got?
We definitely had a sing-along of our own, so well played.
We
well played.
did.
All right, WAFC Studios writes, this one is for Kevin. What did you see in James Gunn for directing, and how did you decide on the great tone for the movie?
Yeah, because you were talking about a guy who's doing like such great work, like with Slither, Super. If you have not seen PG porn, see it. It's so good. It's so funny. But what made you think like a guy who's done like a smaller, like budgeted films would be perfect for this?
Well, it was less about them being smaller budgeted films and more about them being awesome.
Right.
And being very, very cool and very, very clever. And it has served us well when we hire filmmakers that have done great work, regardless of size or scale, because as James already said, there are amazing artists and technicians and crew members that are willing and happy to come and join our movies and can provide a support base if somebody hasn't done anything of this scale before. So it's much more important to us that they have the experience doing something original and doing something different and doing something awesome and choosing a tone. I mean, Slither is a very, arguably a delicate tone. It's a horror comedy movie. That's not easy to do. And he did it extremely well. The tone, I think you should talk to a little bit of this movie.
Yeah, I think all along. Listen, here's the thing: tone is tone is tone. It is what it is. The main thing, again, coming back to what I said at the beginning, is this is about the characters. And to believe this movie, you have to fall in love with the characters. You have to fall in love with the talking raccoon, and you have to believe that he actually exists. He is not Bugs Bunny in the middle of the Avengers. This is a sad little mangled beast that actually exists. And that was my thing from the beginning, was to take these outlandish concepts and keep it fun, but also just to make it believable as possible in whatever way necessary to keep it believable. And so I think that it was just always in service of the characters, creating their dynamics, and then letting it be as funny or emotional as it became because of their interaction with each other.
Was there ever a character, before we move on to the next question, and actually specifically for you, Chris, when you did read the script for the first time, was there ever a character?
I still haven't read. I still haven't read the script. I'm hoping I will get to at some point. No, go ahead.
Was there ever a character that you guys knew, okay, this character's in the movie, but maybe when you read it or when you guys were first talking about it, that you thought, this one's going to be hard. Like, how are we really going to pull this one off right? Was there any one character that stands out to you?
It was every character. I mean, it was every character, but at no point did we think there was an option to not do that. It was the reason to make the movie, was to make these 5 people behind us work.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some other characters that we added later that,
That's true.
I mean, Yondu, adding Yondu was a big deal.
Yep.
So he has a more delicate superpower. So it was, I think that there was questions, but again, it was all about bringing it back to who they were. And the truth is, if you believe who they are as and I say as people, but there's only one of them or maybe two of them that are actually people. But if you believe who they are as characters and what their intentions are, and that they have as many troubles as we do as human beings, that it works for people.
All right, what's the next question?
Oh, we believe, we believe. All right, Harley Quinn, 4737, love your work, Harley, writes, is there a character you wish you could have worked into the movie, but you just didn't have the room for?
Well,
That's a good question.
There's a lot of them. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many great characters that, are not in the movie that we, I mean, there's some great original Guardians. I love Starhawk,
Yeah, I mean that's true of most of our movies, right? Is that there's so many characters in the comics that it's you don't want to overload it. That's something we learned early on, is
Yeah.
to not to focus on the core group that you have. But the good news is that means, should we be so lucky as to have the audience who want us to tell more stories, there's a list of characters that we'd want to pull from.
let me push you guys on just a little bit more.
Cosmo.
Perfect. I was going to ask, out of all those characters, though, who came closest, who that is not in the film, came closest to getting in?
Bug was in early drafts, but he fell out. Maybe before you, was he in when?
Bug was kind of in and
Yeah,
then kind of
he
out,
fell out,
but
yeah.
just not it. But he was never a main Guardian.
No,
It was
no.
always these guys were the main Guardians.
Right.
Tantalus was in for a while.
Yeah.
There were people that were in and out, but I think it was more. We always knew that at least when I came around, you had already decided who was the main Guardians, and those are probably the exact same that I would have chosen. So I was really happy that those were the guys. And there's Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning are the guys who worked on the 2008 series, and they kind of cemented a lot of what the tone of the movie was and the feeling that they had there with their stuff. So I think that we knew where we were going, and there's always that list of who becomes, if we're fortunate enough to be able to make another movie in the future, who else is there that we want to have come in? And that's always, there's little hints in the movie and things like that, and maybe you'll see.
All right, I like this one that came in from Mr. Bazinga because it speaks to my heart. It says, Chris Pratt, what does Burt Macklin think about Peter Quill and his crimes?
Oh man, I love him. Who is the Bazinga?
The
What do you write?
Bazinga, Mr. Bazinga.
That guy's awesome. Great question. Wow, what does Burt Macklin think? He'd probably try to choke slam me, and then he'd try to choke slam Quill, and then he would get shot. But he would have like a really great FBI memorial, and yeah, that's a really nice question. I appreciate that.
All right, what else we got?
Blader Chico writes, first of all, love your work. My question is for either James or Chris. Will Star-Lord wear his mask and or suit in Guardians?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. You can go online and see a lot of pictures.
There's and the mask is really cool, and it was a practical mask that I wore that was just so badass. And I mean, you should see the all the props on this thing. It was just like the most amazing toy you've ever seen, but it looks legit and real, and like the eyes light up and you can see through them, and there's a fan inside of there and also a microphone so that you can so they can catch my audio. And at first it was falling off because of these heavy winds that we were shooting in, so they bolted it shut onto my head, so I had to so they couldn't take it off.
And it was getting foggy outside too. This was like the first day of shooting, and he kept running into stuff.
I was running
and
he was sprinting as fast as I can right into really hard things.
And I'm speaking on the microphone to you, and I'm like, it's not going through, and then all of a sudden it's blasting in your ears.
Yeah. It was a work in progress, but it looks, I don't know, I think it looks really cool, really cool.
You guys have talked so much about how really when it comes down to it, the movie's about these 5 characters. So I kind of asked Chris this, but let me put to you guys, knowing that and the importance that this is going to be a character-centric film, and you're moving ahead of the cinematic universe, what made Chris Pratt the guy to play Star-Lord?
I mean, I knew it.
Should we have him leave the room while you answer that?
Well, he knows the story, right? You know the story of how you came about. That I didn't want to see you audition.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see him audition. I told Sarah Finn, who's our casting director, we went through a lot of people, and we saw a lot of really, really good actors, but I really was looking for somebody who inhabited the role and went beyond it, in the same way Robert Downey did with Tony Stark. And we saw a lot of people, and they were really good, but nobody was quite there, and she kept saying, what about Chris Pratt? And I'm like, the chubby guy from Parks and Rec? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm like, no. I'm like, Sarah, get that out of my face. Because she would come up with some other bad ideas, too. And I thought it was a bad idea. And I wouldn't want to see him. And I said no a million times.
Oh, God, I'm so glad that I'm here watching this. You're not at home, having not gotten the role.
Yeah. So I'm going to go on about all the bad things I don't like about the actors that didn't get the roles after. No. And I kept saying no, no, no. And she said, all right. And I said, I don't want to see him. And so someday I had to go meet with another actor, and she said, okay, and then you're meeting with him, and then you're meeting with Chris Pratt. And I was like, I think she just put one over on me. I thought I said no. Like, did I agree on the moment of weakness? I don't know. And I went in, and Chris came in and read, and and I'm not kidding. It was 20 seconds is pushing it, and he was maybe reading for 20 seconds, and I went, holy God! And I turned around to Sarah Finn, and I said, it's him. He's the one. He's the one, and I knew it. Like, just completely knew it. And I think the biggest worry was that he was, heavier at the time, and could he lose the weight? But he had lost a lot of the weight for Zero Dark 30,
yeah, so we knew
he was going to do that.
Yeah,
and and we have a common friend, Ben Davis, who was like, you can trust Chris 1,000% to lose the weight, and I trusted him. So yeah.
Now you absolutely can't answer this question. Who almost got the role? No, never mind. All right, what else we got?
Kevin wanted to play the role.
I was this close. I was this close.
You're already a superhero in our eyes, just saying. All right, Trey Adele writes, how much did the Abnett Lanning Game of Thrones? Guardians of the Galaxy comic series influence the film? And of course, this last part was added. Any chance we see Cosmo?
Wow.
Cosmo's popular.
The lineup was inspired. I mean, much of the movie was inspired by that run.
Yeah. I mean, even a lot of the, there's a lot of humor in the movie, and there's a lot of, relatable humor in the movie that I think is different from a lot of other space epic type films. So yeah, there's a lot. Definitely more than anything else, the Abnett Lanning run was our inspiration.
I know sometimes a lot of directors I've talked to before have said that, when trailers come out, for a lot of them, sometimes have a lot of influence on them. Sometimes they see the trailer on the screen, and that's the first time they're seeing it. What kind of, did you have much influence over the trailer itself, or did you just kind of see it the first time like us? 'Cause I can tell you, the trailer is fantastic. It's my favorite trailer of the year. It was just incredible, and it just made such an impact. So, what did you feel about it when you saw it? Does it convey the spirit of the film?
I flipped out. Well, first of all, the original, I saw the trailer originally because the original cut of the trailer, which was a much, sort of lower tech version, was at San Diego Comic-Con. We did a sort of early version of what you all saw, a couple weeks ago. And Kevin wanted to do a trailer, and I kept being like, you're crazy, we can't do a trailer. I did shoot, I shot the lineup stuff, on the second day of shooting, of a pre-shoot actually, so that we could have those to get those visual effects shots ready for a trailer and perhaps for Comic-Con. But when I first saw the trailer, I was blown away because it was so early. It was after 12 days of shooting that we saw the first cut of it, and I think it captures the tone of the one aspect of the tone of the movie especially well. And that was the marketing guys that did most of it.
They embraced it. I mean, sometimes you'll see that people in marketing departments want to sort of hide what the movie really is, and we said, don't do that, or there's nothing to, the movie is the tone.
Yeah.
And they embraced that and put that, lower-fi, as you say, version of it together for Comic-Con last year, and then tweaked it and updated it and improved it for the actual teaser.
How long had you guys actually been shooting by the time that Comic-Con trailer? Because I remember being at Comic-Con.
12 days.
Yeah, about 12 days.
12 days,
Yeah.
and then we got the first trailer. Unbelievable. All right, what's next?
Last question. This feels very directed towards you, Mr. Feige. Since the Guardians of the Galaxy is the last Marvel movie of 2014, will there be a post-credit scene that will connect it to the MCU?
Well, I've always said that we don't look at those post-credit scenes as sort of mandatory in any way. If we have something fun to connect, we'll do it. And part of the fun of sitting through those credits is waiting to see if someone's going to be there or not.
Because you guys have, in the past, long after the film's been done shooting, just maybe even a couple weeks out from when the film is coming out, gone back and shot extra stuff for post-credit scenes.
We build that into our schedules. It is a key a part of our process, and a very, very important part of our process. And we'll be doing that on this too. We build it in from the beginning into the actors' schedules, into our budget, because we never know exactly what it's going to be. If we could shoot everything perfectly the first time, we would do it that way. But we've not found a way to do that yet. So we always build in additional time for when a cool idea comes up. And James has had a few more cool ideas, so we're gonna go get them.
All right, we've got just a couple more questions, but before I get to them, I do want to let everybody know, speaking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, on April 3rd, at AMC Theaters, we are doing a double feature of Captain America and Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So you want to head over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. I'm seeing it, well, Frosty and I are both going to go see it on Monday night, I think. So we're really excited about that. I know you'll be too. So once again, April 3rd, double feature of the two Captain America films. Go to amctheaters.com for your theater, ticket, and showtime information. All right, so getting back to Guardians of the Galaxy, and about the trailer itself, the trailer did give us a certain, you were talking tone, but it did give us this feel of a comic book movie that I don't think any of us have seen before. I mean, this was so different than anything we've seen. Is the trailer and that spirit of the trailer, is that pretty indicative of the movie as a whole?
I think it's incredibly true and accurate to an aspect of the film, and I think that what you'll see as we release more trailers, you'll see other, there's a lot more scope to the film than you see in that first trailer, and there's a little bit more, I'd say, drama to the film than in that first trailer. But definitely that trailer is completely accurate to what the film is and shows an aspect of what the movie is, and I can't believe how well they captured the feeling of what we've put together.
When can we expect a second trailer?
Well, the movie comes out August 1st, so certainly sometime between now and then. I think in the next...
September 2017.
Yeah, that's too late. That'll be too late.
Oh,
yeah. I'd say in the next, few months.
All right, well, to kind of wrap things up here, I'm going to get each of you to put on your salesman hat for a second. And Chris, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
Why are AMC audiences going to love Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh man, I think AMC audiences are going to love Guardians of the Galaxy because it's fun and it is exciting. It's truly different than anything you've ever seen, and it's gonna knock your socks off. I think you're gonna love it because you're smart.
And if you don't love it, there's something wrong with you, right? It's a great, I think that Guardians of the Galaxy in the future is going to be used for psychological testing in schools. And if people like it,
are you a
say
good
they're
person
normal.
or a bad person?
Right, yeah, exactly. And it depends on how you react to the film.
Kevin, why are people going to love this film?
With every movie that we make, we want them to be very different and very unique experiences. You've mentioned Captain America: The Winter Soldier. One of the things we're most proud of is how unique that is from any other movie we've made, in particular from the first Captain America, the first Avenger film. But with this one, we really set out to say we want to do something original. You know, the harping on so many sequels, reboots, even though I look at sequels as a wonderful opportunity to do something new and original, this is unequivocally new and fresh and original. And it happens to have originated in the pages of our comic books. But I do think in a year where there's lots of sort of familiar things popping up again, the fact that this is unique, I think that's one of the reasons people responded to the trailer. So I think people should get ready for something very, very new and very, very fun.
All right, I lied. I do have one more question I got to ask you, because you guys were talking about, this world of characters. Some you didn't get a chance to use. Maybe you'll get another chance. There were some rumors going around online, not that online ever has any rumors, that maybe Guardians of the Galaxy was just being looked at as a one and done. But have you guys, when you were approaching Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously without going too much into it, but did you at least go into it thinking, we want to see where this can go later if the audience asks for it?
Well, we certainly didn't say one and done, but we also didn't say, here's the 10-part saga and this is what we have to save for the next. We look at every movie like, this is the last movie anybody will ever let us make ever. So let's make it great. And people keep assuring me that's not the case, but we still focus like that. So that's all we've been talking about is what's the best idea for this movie. But as we said earlier, there's so many characters, there's so many storylines that inevitably something comes up that we go, that could be cool next time. Anyway,
I think that the talking about, if there's ever talk about doing more, it's always from the excitement of we got so much cool stuff to do, and we love these characters so much, and we can't show them doing everything that we ever want them to do within the span of 1 2-hour movie. And I think that we are. It's like this is the thing that I think that people are going to love about it is this is a completely honest this movie. There's no BS in this movie whatsoever. I love these characters, and I really love them like I would love my own children. I don't have children. That's the closest thing I have. So I love the characters. I think that's one of the reasons why people like the trailer so much, is that I think fans have picked up on the fact that we're totally sincere about this. We're totally real. We are the fans. And this is not something that some studio came around and said, hey, you need to make something that fits into these slots. And I think that's obvious by the trailer, because it's not like anything before, whether you love it or whether you hate it. It is its own thing. And I think that we're completely sincere about that. I think the fans have picked that up so far, and I feel really great because of that, and I can't wait for them to see the movie.
All right, so I'm going to take away from that you can say it here, they revealed that not all the lead characters die by the end of the film. So they're still going to be around the possibilities there. Spoiler, huge spoiler. All right, guys, we have run all out of time. Chris, once again, we were so excited to hear that you were the lead in this film, and you look great in the trailer. James, I promised him, we were talking on Facebook, I promised I wouldn't gush on Slither too much. I've already broke that promise. But if you haven't seen Slither, seriously, one of my all-time favorite films, make sure you go out and say it. And Kevin, once again, terrific work on everything you've done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. And thank you for giving us and all of us fans such a great time at the theater ongoing. And we cannot wait for Guardians of the Galaxy. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Pratt, James Gunn, and Kevin Feige.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And that will do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news, and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.